related to McKinley that were handled today. As you know, this happened about a year ago now, actually a year yesterday. Back on February 9th of 2022, there was a fight at McKinley. I don't know if I ever told you the reason for the fight, but the reason for the fight was over a girl. And it wasn't even over a kind of a boyfriend-girlfriend dating thing. It was over a guy calling a girl a bad name. You don't want to use it on air, but call him a bitch. But that was it. A girl got called that, and a guy who knew the girl didn't like it, and so now you got a group of guys squaring off against a group of guys in a parking lot over something as silly as that. And so, as a result of this fight that took place in the parking lot, one individual got stabbed. That individual was part of one of the groups who were fighting, and a security guard got shot. We still don't know who the stabber is. There was a kid with the stabber who was sentenced today. That kid pled guilty to the attempted murder charge in the second degree, and he pled guilty to one count of assault in the first degree. And again, the legal theory of that was he was an accomplice of the actual stabber. This kid was actually beaten on the kid, so there was a stabber, and then this kid was the beater. There was punches thrown, kicks thrown, the whole thing. So that 17-year-old pled guilty a few months ago, and he was sentenced today to 1 to 3 years in state prison. He could have got the judge stated today that he gave him the minimum amount of state prison time. He could have got 1 1/3 to 4. That would have been the max state prison time, but he got the minimum state prison time, which is 1 to 3. Now, he got that because he was given youthful offender status, which we opposed, obviously. If he didn't have youthful offender status, he could have got a minimum of 5 years and a max of 25 years. So the youthful offender status basically cut the range of sentencing down to almost nothing here, which obviously we opposed. But the judge gave him the youthful offender status, and he got the minimum state prison time, which I guess is okay. I mean, he got state prison time, but that's really what I wanted here. So he got 1 to 3 years of state prison time. A order of protection was in place, and that order of protection on the victim and the victim's family is in place until 2034 for the next 11 years. So that order of protection is there in place. He pled guilty to the charge. Again, he pled to the highest charge. I charged him with the attempted murder and with the assault in the first degree. I made him plead guilty to the charge because I believe that he knows who the stabber is, and he's not talking. And so I'm not going to give him the benefit of not being a snitch. He may get the benefit of not being a snitch out in the streets, which is fine, but I'm not going to give him that benefit, and so I made him plead guilty to the charge. The shooter, I don't believe knew who the stabber was, but the shooter did shoot and randomly hit the security guard. I gave him a plea. I gave him a plea to he pleaded a weapons charge, but he was facing attempted murder as well. But I gave him a reduction to the assault charge. I don't know if he knows who the stabber was, so I'm not gonna make him. I'm not gonna punish him for not telling who the stabber is. I'm not sure he knows who the stabber is, but Also, what factors into whether I give someone a plea or not someone a plea is the beater here, the 17-year-old who got sentenced today. My case was stronger with him than it was on the shooter, and I'll just leave it at that. So obviously, when I give someone a plea deal, I factor in, their behavior, one, and how strong a case I have. And so I'll just put it this way: that my case with the beater was a better case, and that's why he pled to the charge, and that's why I gave the 18-year-old male today. He pled to the weapons charge, which I didn't give him a plea on that. He pled to weapons charge, having an illegal weapon, but I did reduce it down from attempted murder to assault. And the judge committed to 5 years, and the judge committed to not giving him YO, which is good. So he's not going to get youthful offender status, and the judge committed to 5 years. He could have got up to 15. The minimum was 3.5, and the max was 15. So he got 5. But that's fair. I'm not going to criticize that. That's fair. So so the shooter's going to get 5 years when he's sentenced. When's that sentencing date, Kate? March. Good. All right.
10th.
March 10th. Okay. All right. So he's come back March 10th for his sentencing, but the judge already made a commitment. And then the other individual was sentenced today. Obviously, a horrible day at McKinley. It's ironic that I happen to be at McKinley High School today. I went to McKinley High School this morning, just coincidentally. I didn't plan it for today's sentencing and guilty plea. I went to McKinley High School today to speak to their civics class. I spoke to about 50 young men and women at McKinley High School and told them, talked to them about the dangers of having guns and getting involved in fights and getting involved in street gangs. I also talked to them about their civic duty to be on jurors and to vote. So I had a great meeting today. The kids were engaged. They were asking questions. It was a great morning at McKinley High School today. It was a bad day at McKinley High School last year, and hopefully. This is the second high school I've gone now to in the last month. I went to South Park High School about a month ago. I plan on going to as many schools as I can to get the message out there that you can't be using guns. Guns, illegal guns are a problem on the streets of our city, and I want to do what I can to help our young people not get caught up in a life of crime, not get caught up in the gun culture, the gang culture. And hopefully I made an impact today, and hopefully I made an impact today as well on two young men going to state prison here for a crime they committed at a high school. And hopefully this makes a difference, and hopefully my presentation today makes a difference as well.
Do you think that we will ever know who the stabber is?
Probably not. No, probably not. Unless someone comes forward and volunteers it. But it's been a year, and no one's come forward. No, there were a lot of kids there. There was a whole bunch of kids around. There was two groups of kids fighting. There was two sides who were fighting, and there was a bunch of kids in both groups. So there's a lot of witnesses out there. Because you got groups of kids together and they were fighting amongst themselves, the shooter was kind of off on his own. The shooter was away from the melee that was taking place in the parking lot. That's why I don't think the shooter knows who the stabber was. But certainly the 17-year-old who got sentenced today, I firmly believe he knows who the stabber was. But he ain't talking.
So the rationale for not giving the shooter youthful offender status is?
A gun. He had a gun. He used a gun. Again, I'm speculating on the judge. I asked for youthful offender on both, okay? The judge gave one youthful offender and the other one not. So I'm assuming he didn't give the youthful offender on because it was a gun, not a knife. And, we take guns more seriously than knives. But, I could be criticized for that. I mean, maybe we shouldn't take guns more seriously than knives. They're both used improperly can kill people, but obviously our laws are much more stricter on illegal guns. So I'm guessing that's the reason, Harold.
Now, you said gang related multiple times when you say on your tour to different schools. Is it safe to say like this incident was like gang related?
I wouldn't say gang related. It did break down the racial components, though. There was one group of Asian kids and one group of black kids. So there was that component to it, but I wouldn't say it was a neighborhood gang thing. It was literally over a girl. It was literally over name calling of a girl.
And what did the school say? Like once you went out there, like a year later, but like,
The school, I didn't talk about this today. To be honest with you, I didn't. It was a total coincidence. I was scheduled to go there this morning. My schedule for going to this speaking to high school was made like a month ago, and I didn't know that the plea was going to take place today. Kate keeps track better of the day than I do. It was a total coincidence. So when I went there today, yeah, there were about 5 or 6 teachers in the room, obviously, because it was a bunch of civics classes. None of the teachers mentioned it, and I didn't mention it either. I didn't bring it up.
John, does it frustrate you maybe even more when you believe that the adolescent offender who was associated with the stabbing, you feel he knows who the stabber was, but then, the defense claims that every day they meet, he is always asking, like, hey, is the kid that is the unfortunate one who was stabbed okay? Like, he continues to ask that. I mean, does it frustrate you any more in that aspect that he seems remorseful about it, but still won't say, in your opinion, in your mind, who that person was?
Yeah, no, I appreciate his remorsefulness. I appreciate that. I give him credit for that. I don't like the fact he's not telling me, but it's easy for me to say that I don't like it. All right. I mean, I live in Tonawanda. I don't lock my doors at night. I mean, I don't gotta live. I don't gotta worry about that. These kids live in a different neighborhood than I do. They live in a different environment, and as I rail against the don't snitch mentality, I can understand it. I mean, as a human being, I can understand it. But yeah, does it frustrate me? Yeah, sure it does. But it frustrates me on the one hand as a DA, but take my DA hat off and my human being hat, I get it.
Where
I get it.
Go from here. Do you continue investigating, continue to try to find that person who did the physical stabbing?
Not really. I mean, it's pretty much waiting to see if anyone comes forward and talks. If the way it may play out is that, again, you got a bunch of kids here on both sides here, all right? If one of those kids gets in trouble in the future, then one of those kids may come forward and say, hey, I know who the stabber was back in McKinley a year ago, and then try to make a deal with me. It may play out like that. But if it doesn't play out like that, then I've kind of hit a wall, and there's, I got no one coming forward. We've talked to everyone there. No one's talking, and you can't make them talk, obviously. So, yeah, it's probably at a standstill.
What do you say to that victim's family after a moment like this?
Which one, the security guard or the stabber's family?
The stabber's family.
I say the stabber's family. Obviously, I'm sorry that he got youthful offender status. I did my best to convince the judge not to do that. I say that he pled guilty to the charge. The one who was beaten on your son pled guilty to the charge. He did not get a break from me at all. He pled guilty to the charge, and he's going to state prison. So at least there's some closure in that. And then the victim's family knows that we've done everything we can to try to find out who the stabber is. It's not like we haven't tried, and so we've done our best to find out who the stabber is. But kids aren't talking, and I think that the family understands that, and they respect that, and obviously they're probably not happy about it, but I think that they're hopefully happy to some degree that some closure was done today. And to the security guard, he okayed my plea. He okayed my reduction to the assault. I probably wouldn't have done it without his okay, even though my case wasn't as great as the other one. But you know, the security guard blessed the reduction, and you know, hopefully, you know, that this 18-year-old is going to jail for 5 years, and hopefully the security guard thinks that justice has been done here too. Hopefully.
Any other questions?
And just to make sure, you did say both are going to prison, right?
Yes, one's going away. One hasn't been sentenced yet, though. The one's come back in March for sentencing, but the judge committed today for 5 years.
Okay.
And then the other one is going for 1 to 3.
Okay.
Yep. Right.
And just some clarification on the one that was sentenced today, so because he's a youthful offender, the Office of Child and Family Services will determine what facility he goes to. It could be a different detention center for youth, or it could be within another, like, prison facility with a designated area for youthful offenders, so we just don't know
Yeah.
where that is.
It'll be a state facility though.
His attorney seems to feel that he'll be out on parole almost immediately due to the fact he's been locked up for almost a year already. Is that
Yes.
Time served.
Yes. He'll get time. He'll get time served for all that time.
right?
Yes. You're right. So he may not go anywhere. Absolutely. That's a good point.
So we could
He should be DA, man.
We'll see. I'm sure there's an opening coming.
Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. 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 All right.
Ray, do you think you're gonna start